So where you see the two big pools that are the footprint, the museum is in the basement, basically, of the Twin Towers. And so when you enter, first of all, you go through like metal detectors and shit, like you're at the airport. And then you go and you take an escalator or stairs like down. And then you walk around the whole thing. And then you take another like long, like fucking ramp down. There we go.
I remember going through the metal detectors and being like, do they think a terrorist is going to come and be like, I'm here to finish the job? Like, I'm going to blow up the basement of the World
That would be
Trade
such an own, though, if they got away with
I
that.
need to make sure I finish destroying the most haunted building in America.
Yeah, exactly. So you go in and it's extremely dark. Obviously, there's no windows. It is cold. It is covered in soundscapes, which means that like they purposely put up like these speakers that play constantly all of the tumultuous sounds of the day in Lower Manhattan.
Like a haunted
so that
house.
You just constantly hear, like the sirens, the radio, like the firemen talking to each other on the radio, people calling down Mayday
howling
from their airplanes. Yeah, it's fucked up. Yeah, so you're just like, who would bring a kid to this? It's so fucking fucked up. And then all of a sudden you like turn a corner and there's just like fucking video on loop of people jumping out of the towers and
holy shit.
Yeah, and it's
whoa,
really, really bad. And so in the exhibition hall, there are actually these things called like recovery exits, I believe is what they call them. And it's basically because the exhibit goes in one direction, right, in like a line of history. You can't really like double back and get out because you'll run into a bunch of people, and also you'll have to walk back through all the trauma you just witnessed. So these exits, I think there's like 5 of them that go around the entire hall. It's just like for you to bail if you can't fucking handle it, because they expected people to bail because they couldn't handle it. Do you get me?
It's a bold move putting that up front. The purpose of this seems like rich people who were like, I want to take my kid to the Holocaust Museum, but I wish there was a step between this and that.
Yeah.
It sounds like a haunted house, like the Boo Scare guy.
Yeah. A lot of things were hung at obviously there's a standard museum height for hanging things, especially things that you expect people to read. But at the 9/11 museum, everything's hung up like 12 to 30 inches higher to cause you to crane your neck up the whole time that you're looking at the exhibit, so as to evoke the feeling of the people witnessing the event that morning from the ground.
What the fuck?
Yeah, man. And I was like part of the memorial exhibition, so I represented the families, and I would be in these meetings about the historical exhibition, and I would just be like, yo, this is fucked up. And they would just be like, well, this was already approved by Bloomberg and whatever, and I'd be like,
oh my god.
Well, Mike Bloomberg,
this shit.
That's because
Mike
he's
Bloomberg
short.
is 5 feet tall.
Right.
He wants everybody to be looking up for once.
Yeah.
Like he does every day of his goddamn life.
Yeah. So to answer your original question, sorry, go ahead, Anders.
No, please finish.
I was just going to answer that the majority of the people that went there and that as far as I know, still go there are actually non-New York City and mostly foreign tourists. Because to them, it does, to go back to the thing where I was like, wow, the fact that this happened in America is a little bit fascinating and funny to everyone else in the rest of the world.
Yeah.
And they do come that way. Like, so when I worked in the museum and the museum wasn't open, my offices at one time were at One Liberty Plaza, which is like right next to Zuccotti Park, the black building, And then after the museum opened, we worked at First World Financial, One World Financial across the West Side Highway. So, before the museum was opened, I don't know if you guys remember that the hole used to be covered with just like that green fencing so that you couldn't see ground zero.
Yeah.
And I would be like outside smoking a cigarette, even when I worked at Starbucks before the museum like was even a thing, and it was just like a covered hole. Europeans and shit would just walk up to you and be like, excuse me, where is the hole? The 9/11 hole? And they would just come and like look through the hole and take pictures of the cavern and be like fascinated that, holy shit, this shit happened right here.
Holy shit.
Can I smoke
it's called
in the
disaster
hole?
tourism. And it is actually a pretty common thing that people go and see like prisons in Africa and places where like huge murders took place. And And it's pretty
Oh
fucked
my
up.
god.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you're visiting New York and you want something not fun to do, it's a great option for you.
Yeah,
Yep.
that's interesting about the people jumping out of buildings. Because I did actually watch a pretty intriguing documentary a few years ago about that issue with like what to do with the footage and the photos of that, because there are certain families who were shown the footage of their loved ones jumping out and they were just horrified by it. But then other people actually liked being able to see it because it was like a sense of conclusion or finality.
If you play it
but to like
backwards,
shove that,
looks like my dad's jumping back into the building.
yeah, right. But to like shove that in the face of people coming into the museum, that's like very intense.
Well, so it's not up front, but so what they do, it's still messed up though, Anders, because I think they expected that critique, right? Of like, oh, well, you can't make people look at this without a warning. So what they do is they have these alcoves that are like, I think there's like 4 or 5 of them that are supposedly like the most explicit parts, right? But even when we say the most explicit parts, literally all of the walls around you are covered in burning buildings and airplanes and fucking and audioscapes of people crying and saying like, say goodbye to my wife because I'm not like from the airplane, you know, like fucked up shit, like people's voicemails that they were leaving. So it's like, even if you didn't show me the 5 things in these 5 alcoves, this is traumatizing. Like, this is really fucked up. So the alcoves, and I want to say that the jumpers is the first alcove on the right, like it's like the first one you get to. And what happens is like, you basically are walking down a hall that has stuff on both walls, and then all of a sudden to your right, there's like a little opening into a little dark room, but you can see that there's something projected, and you can see that there are buildings projected. And then there's a small sign, which, as all museum people actually know, 99% of signage is not read by most people in a museum. Okay, most people only read 1% of the signage at any exhibit that they go to. So probably most people are not seeing your fucking stupid warning panel saying this is what this is going to be. And then all it says is like, you know, warning, this is going to show you images of people jumping from the World Trade Center. And it's like, well, you already told me. Now I'm already fucking picturing people jumping off the thing.
Yeah.
So
Get ready for the Call of Duty kill cam in the next room. We have it set up.
Yeah, so they were like, you know, you would see some people just turn around and be like, no, I'm just going to walk away. But most people walked in without looking at the sign, and then either were like horrified and ran out, or like stood there traumatizing their brains.
Yeah, like Faces of Death is playing.
Exactly, yeah. Or like that, like seeing that fucking council dude shoot himself or whatever.
How does the museum do around Halloween?